My Mother, My Model. Della Clare John shares her journey of deepening her relationship with Mother Mary, reflecting on the qualities of Our Lady that have influenced her the most. Della Clare John, a teacher of religious education at the secondary school level, lives in the UK with her parents and brother. She is also a member of the Jesus Youth International Council.
Years back, while sitting in my Year 12 philosophy and ethics lesson, I remember sharing an input in class that ended with me referring to Mother Mary. This automatically evoked a response of sniggering and muttered comments of, "Mother? You mean Mary?" Growing up in school, I was used to being surrounded by either non-believers or Christians from other denominations, with very few Catholics. So it was quite common to receive complete dismissal or an opposition to Mother Mary. This, however, was something I could never understand. How could anyone not love a woman so pure, so beautiful, and so full of love? As I matured in my faith, I grew more in reverence and love for Our Lady, who in turn taught me how to love and to be more like her Son. Here are a few things that I learned from her. Complete and total resignation to the will of God. We know that under Jewish law, a woman bearing a child outside of marriage was at risk of being stoned to death. Let us now imagine the state of a young girl in her early teenage years, being asked to risk her life to be the mother of God. It is almost unimaginable. Her response, "May it be done to me according to thy word," were not mere words, but she brought them to fruition in each one of her actions, from the Annunciation until her Assumption. Her focus not being what she wanted or hoped to achieve, or her response based on foresight of what was to come, but through her being, she manifested total self-resignation. She was a living example of trusting in the Lord, an example I aspire to imitate in all walks of my life. Would this teenager have ever imagined that her little yes would, as Pope St. John Paul II says, have allowed the central salvific events of all humanity to be realized in her and through her? Urgency to respond to the call of God. Mary arose and went with haste into the hill country. Luke, chapter 1, verse 39. There are two elements to this that we can learn from: her determination to serve her elderly cousin Elizabeth, and her urgency to respond to God's call. Filled with the Spirit and filled with joy, it appears that Mother Mary wanted to immediately share this with those she loved. Secondly, sensing Elizabeth's need, not considering herself and her situation, she put herself at the service of her cousin. Mother Mary's example has led me to ask myself, do I strive to share Christ, whom I have received, to those around me? And do I seek to be self-giving and serve those in need? It challenges me to ponder on the priorities in my life. Is sharing the love of Christ with others my prime concern? And am I able to do it with the pure, self-denying love that Our Lady embodied all her life? To be the perfect disciple. The biggest complaint I hear against Mother Mary is that she takes the focus away from Jesus. We know the path to holiness is dying to oneself. Then how can this woman, who gave a total gift of herself to God, teach us anything other than how to love Him through her life? The Gospels tell us of how she always led others to Christ, and at the wedding feast at Cana, she speaks to the disciples but also to us when she says, "Do whatever He tells you." John chapter 2, verse 5. Here she calls us to go to Him, imitate Him, and become like Him, It was Our Lady who knew Jesus the most, and she wants us, her children, to be transformed into His likeness. And as stated by St. Louis de Montfort, to become other Christs. Here I see a mother that longs to teach us how to die to ourselves and to make us perfect disciples of her Son, in the same way she helped the apostles at Pentecost. She kept all these things in her heart. Luke chapter 2, verse 19. As she gave birth to her son in the stable, as panic rose when she could not find her son amongst a large crowd, as she saw many speak ill against him and plot to arrest him, and finally, as she stood at the foot of the cross on which her beloved Son was nailed, she pondered all these things in her heart. She treasured the memories of the child whom she carried for 9 months, the Son of God, in her heart. I imagine our mother, even at the point her heart was breaking, choosing not to complain, protest, or become despondent, nor relying on the words or comforts of those around her, but moving ahead with confidence, put her life completely in the hands of God. In a culture of complaint and in times of suffering, Our Lady teaches us to walk without grumbling, and when things get difficult, carries me to the foot of His cross, where, as He promises, we receive a ceaseless source of strength. To conclude, St. Louis de Montfort beautifully states that a relationship with our mother can be compared to 2 artists. The first, who made a statue through weeks of chiseling and hard labor, and another who made the same statue with a mold. Mother Mary is the mold that forms us quickly and perfectly. So let us behold our mother and allow her to love us and lead us to her Son.